Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, love, laugh, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay on ubnradio.com.
And welcome. My name is Dr. Marissa, also called the honorable moniker, the Asian Oprah. And you are listening to my weekly talk radio show called Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa twice a week on Universal Broadcasting Network on Tuesdays at naturally high noon and transmitting from the Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood, California, and newly syndicated on NBC News Radio KCAA AM 1050, and as of an hour ago, we just signed for an FM channel as well, so super excited. Thursdays at 7 p.m. for your stress-free commute home, Pacific Standard Time. And for those of you who are tuning into this show for the first time, this is a show about hope. It focuses on your life and how to use some life balance tools to ensure that you're happy 88% of the time. So there's no gossip, no scandal, and no K-words, Kardashian talk. I'm your host, Dr. Marissa Pay. That's P for positive EI, and I'm a corporate psychologist in a field that deals with the cross-section between business and psychology. You may recognize me as a TV commentator from some ABC, Fox, and Discovery Channel specials, like Busted on the Job, Totally Out of Control People, Why Do People Do Weird Things at Work, and my most recent one, Hunting the Lost Symbol, about the conspiracy theories in Dan Brown's latest book. I work with thousands of high-achieving, very recovering perfectionistic, exhausted individuals suffering from what I call life dis-ease. That question, why, after all of this, am I not happy? So welcome to my show. I promise to you this is not CNN, not constantly negative news. It can be, which usually is boiled down to what is wrong with people. Instead, we focus on what is right with people and what is right with you. So I'm very grateful that I've had a lot of fantastic guests on this show, a lot of past Oprah guests, including Dr. Pat Allen, Dr. John Gray, Marianne Williamson, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith. If you missed any of the free podcasts, you can get them on iTunes. My interview with Fran Drescher, Gloria Allred, Leave It to Beaver, Jerry Mathers. And I'm actually shocked the other day. I went on my YouTube channel, and the radio you can see, thanks to the cameras in our studio here, the podcast with Rick O'Barry, my first Radio for Our Deaf series, is now over 1,200 views, and also Dr. Pat Allen, who's the millionaire matchmaker therapist, is over 1,300. So please do visit my YouTube channel and give me a finger, a thumbs up if you like the podcast, so we can continue on this amazing ride in this thing called life. So, and if you haven't already noticed, it is another episode in our Radio for Our Deaf series with the beautiful and talented Sharon Pierre-Lewis, who is my staff interpreter. Welcome, Sharon. And this week, we are celebrating July 4th freedom. And what better way than to celebrate freedom with guests from Emerging Leaders Academy. And this is a program that helps people stay free from going back into the prison and jail system. So I wanted Clyde Terry to come. And if you didn't know already, 3 out of 4 in California within the year return back to prison. We have in the nation the state has the highest rate of recidivism. I practice saying that, that's not that easy. But I wanted a way, instead of when you hear that, people usually just shake their head. I wanted to do more than just shake our head. I wanted to bring Clyde here I am blessed to actually be one of his instructors, so he's kind of my boss. And I do these classes with these amazing people who are transforming their lives. So I thought we would celebrate freedom with having 2 graduates here. And I'll let Clyde introduce them. Clyde Terry is the founder of this program. It is in conjunction with Urban League, with the LA Sheriff's Department, with the Long Beach Police Department, with Goodwill, and with the Agape International Spiritual Center. And Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith hopefully will be joining us on the air. He's just flown in from India, as well as Charles Boyd, who is the field director at the Urban League. So I know that the current rate is above 70%, the recidivism, and because of the graduates that have gone through this program, it has been reduced to 12%. So we've got something here. And I wanted to share with my listeners to be partners in this wonderful thing, whether it's by listening and supporting, whether it's by partnering and donating, whatever it is, you are in for a fabulous show today. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the studio Mr. Clyde Terry, or Sergeant Clyde Terry.
Thank you for having me. Or having us, rather.
Yeah, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. And so why don't you introduce our 2 guests that are going to be on camera in a second?
So to my right, I have Jaki Murillo, and I have Richard Caravan.
And who are they?
They're graduates from Emerging Leaders, extraordinary graduates from Emerging Leaders.
Right. And so what is Emerging Leaders Academy in a nutshell?
The Emerging Leaders Academy is really an opportunity for people who are returning, actually people in the underserved communities, and more specifically for people who are in gangs and people returning home from the prison system, to get a new track on life, to relearn or to remember who they've always been. They just forgot who they were. Okay. That's what got them in the gang or crime business in the first place. So it's an opportunity for them to relearn who they are, and then to take those skills out into the workplace. And so we tell them, you can't have a 25-cent mentality and want $1 million job. So we need to get the thinking in alignment with the employment that they're going to seek. Because if they still have the same thinking when they go to a job, if someone says something to them, the first thing they go is, are you trying to punk me? Right. So we want to get that cleared up. We want to get whatever anger is there, get all that stuff worked out so that they can go and be productive. We also work with them to do the forgiveness process so they can forgive themselves for whatever they've done, so that they can actually be back out in society. They can function with their families. They're not doing things like feeling like they have to protect their families or fight every fight, which puts them back in the system. Right. We also give them entrepreneur skills because some of them are great entrepreneurs. They just throw the wrong product. So,
good point.
So we take a skill that's already there,
right?
And then we also give them career development skills, resume writing, career development, and then we work to get them job placement.
Okay, so it is a good thing to do. It's
Absolutely.
A nice thing to do, but it's also economically sound for our state. Tell me why.
Well, a report from the Attorney General's office said that it's costing the taxpayers about $233 million, right? It's $47,000 per inmate, right, in the system. And just in LA County alone, we have the highest jail population in the entire free world. We have 18,000 people in custody on any given day. It was like that in 1991 when I joined the Sheriff's Department. I'm sure it was like that before, and it's still there, right? So the Sheriff Baca, who was a previous sheriff, had the foresight to see that we can't arrest our way out of a problem. We can't arrest our way out of a problem. We need to be able to be forward thinkers. When people are getting out, there's something that's causing the people that are getting out to go back.
Right.
So what's missing? Let's bring let's bridge that gap.
Right.
And so so that's what Emerging Leaders is. It's a way to bridge a gap, and we're learning as we go along. We learn. Right. Richard was one of the first people from our Long Beach program, and
so
we've evolved since then.
Yes, let's talk to Richard. Hi, Richard.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm happy. Welcome to the show.
Hello, glad to be here.
And so I was fortunate to have a little pre-interview with you. So I'm going to call you my subject matter expert on prison.
Right.
Because how many years have you been in prison?
30 plus.
30 plus years. So you're qualified to tell me what it's really like behind those prison walls. And I'm going to put the moose on the table because that's what I do. It's the Canadian version of the elephant in the room. And the thing that I hear from the average person is, well, total disgust because my taxpayer dollars are going to feeding these people who should not even, deserve to be alive, and they get a cushy place to just hang out and they don't have to work, and they it's not fair, the system isn't fair, and they don't deserve it, and life it's an easy life behind the wall. So you tell me what life is like behind prison walls.
Hard.
Okay.
And,
why is it hard?
it's hard because there's rules that you have to follow that somebody made up, and they give it language, and then they give it a story, and whether you want to or not, and that belongs in that comes with demographics. You have to fall in.
You're not talking about the correctional officers. You're not talking about who you're talking about a subculture, a gang subculture.
Gang subculture.
Okay.
You have to hang with your own, and
if you don't.
Well, then, bad things happen.
Okay, so we're gonna get graphic here.
Yeah.
When did you first go to jail the first time?
At 13, went through the county probation camps, worked my way up into youth reform school, youth authority, where I caught an institutional stabbing in Whittier.
Okay.
And
so you stabbed someone.
Yeah.
In where?
In the shower.
And why?
Because somebody told me to do it.
Okay. And you had no choice?
No.
Okay. So then you were sent to?
I was sent to Tracy, which was, at that time, the Pelican Bay, the most highest security state prison, adult state prison.
Okay.
So I was a juvenile at 17 years old in what they call gladiator school.
Okay,
and
gladiator school.
Right.
So can you remember, okay, let's say we just time travel for a second. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. Okay, you're back. It's your first day in this Pelican.
No.
Tracy, which is like Pelican.
Right.
You open your eyes when you first wake up. What's your first waking thought?
How am I going to stay alive?
Okay. So for 30 years,
right,
you've been in this, and just a little background. What was your first offense, or what was the, why were you there?
Possession of heroin.
Possession of heroin.
13.
Okay. So 13. And if you could sum up, how did that happen? Was there abuse in your home? What would you say was
I come from a fine family.
Okay.
My belief systems got twisted, and my
that's why they're beliefs. You know that, right? BS.
Yeah,
that's a belief system.
My belief system got twisted, and I started to. Nobody ever told me to choose my wisely, because I would be in it for the next 40 years, and so I started actually 50, and so I started idolizing people for the wrong reasons or whatever. People that were just getting out, they would.
So they were your role models. So you've got these people that are breaking the law. Okay, they're your role models, and just because it's only a 50-minute show.
Right.
One thing you said to me that struck me in the pre-interview was, I was a convict. My identity was a convict. Who are you? I'm a convict.
Right.
You're not Richard with unique talents, gifts, and abilities, and have a place in this world to make a difference. You were a convict.
Right.
You knew, and you would have this little voice
that would tell me, society looks at you as a convict, so therefore you are.
And therefore, why not just act one more time?
And so what that system did was it allowed me to break every law that it came up against because that's what I was supposed to do. That's what a regular convict does.
Right.
So with that, and coupled with an ego of I was a hope to die drug addict, and so I didn't have any aspirations except for to get high until the day I died.
Wow.
So therefore, that enabled me to act out and to run from life.
Wow.
And that's what prisons and that behavior, criminal behavior. I came to Clyde through criminal justice and through a drug treatment center. And it was like it was the last thing I could do. Well, or I was going to go back. I had 5 open cases. And first I
facing life imprisonment. I mean, that was
pretty much at my age, pretty much.
Pretty much. Okay.
And I so.
And before we go into what happened,
Right.
I want to go to my other expert, Jaki. And welcome to the show, Jaki.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. So how old were you when you went in?
Around 12, 13.
12, 13. And what was that charge?
That charge was it was 2. It was for assaulting a teacher and for smoking.
Smoking. Okay. So assaulting a teacher and smoking. And you went into the system. And where was your head?
And back in the day in juvenile hall, it was like, that was a goal. Juvenile hall was like,
It was cool.
It was like the low-key cool thing. It was like my friends had already done it, and I hated being home, and it was like, it became my home after a few years, actually.
Interesting. So you didn't have a good home life.
No.
Okay. You didn't like the home life. You had a home life in juvenile hall.
Yeah.
Okay. So you felt like you belonged. You were probably looked up to.
Yeah.
The worse behavior you did, the cooler you were. Yeah.
It came naturally, and now knowing that it was the anger that I had inside, it wasn't so people could look up to me and think I'm cool because I wasn't a people person. It was more of that was my instinct to like fight, to anything. It was my instinct.
Do you have a little voice like he does too? In your head? Yeah.
Yeah.
What does it say?
Back then?
Back then
He used to tell me like out in the streets people would try to kill me. So in there I'm thinking everything I heard about men's prison or how men were, I'm thinking the girls would be like that too, but it was not at all.
Okay.
It was really petty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're serving your sentence. Do you get out?
Yeah,
That's
I got
okay.
out. I got out 3 times.
Okay.
But the first 2 times I was only out 3-4 days on house arrest, and then I was out 2 months. I was 16 and I committed the crime while I got to as an adult. Then I went in and I fought it for 1.5 years. And then at my 18th birthday, I got shipped to prison. And I served 2 years. I took a deal with 2 strikes.
And what was the charge?
The charge was attempted murder and 32 robberies and assault with a deadly weapon. The conviction was 14 robberies.
So did you, like Richard, see yourself as just bad? That's just who I am. I just do bad things.
You know what? That I'm a bad person was never a thought. Like I never was like. It's just what I knew. It wasn't like I'm an evil person. That everything around me was how I was.
Right.
But I felt like my morals were different and people were just like lesser than me. I only cared about myself and everybody had a motive. So then I had a motive for everything as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. When you woke up in jail, when you would wake up in prison, what was your first waking thought?
When I woke up, because I got turned as an adult, right, at 16, so I was going to adult court. When I would wake up and they're fighting my case, it was a thought of I'm preparing myself for prison. It was a thought of like I had a lot of juice in there. Juice would be like the staff, because I think they felt bad for us kids that were trial adults because we're going to get life in prison. So I got everything I wanted. But when I hit prison at 18,
Right.
the thought was a little different because it was like unknown. So like the first week that I was there, all I did was fight because I felt like I felt like it was going to be like the men.
Right.
And it wasn't. So I
Okay.
felt like I had to fight every day to prove a point because I was the youngest one for about a year and a half in a women's facility with older people. So my thing was, who do I have to fight today now to prove a point? And then I got comfortable, too comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable. So you were comfortable in a place. Did you feel like you had a choice?
You know what? With the actions or with prison itself?
Both.
With my actions, I did. I had a choice, of course. But my thing was, I was always a plotter.
Yeah.
So I plotted before I did things. So my choice was always to
Okay.
But,
Whoops.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
To mess up. But a choice of being there, I always felt guilty that I didn't get a life sentence because most of my girls that were 15, 16, getting towards adults got life. Right. So most of my guilt and things I did was because I felt like I did what I did and I didn't get convicted for it.
Right.
And my girls got life and a few of them didn't do what they did.
So people will say, don't understand the mind of someone who continues to make choices that break the law.
Right.
So what would you say to help someone understand that? Why you know what the consequence is. You know that, it's you shouldn't do this. But you do it anyways.
I have two answers for that.
Okay.
One, because it's different when you're young.
Right.
So when you are young and you do get trials adult, you really don't know the consequences. You know you have a choice, but you don't really know the consequences because a juvenile would think, I'm going to go to camp. Like, this is what I thought, no matter the severe of my crime. Like, I really thought, oh, I'm going to camp for the longest, which is 18 months. If anything, 2 years camp. It's nothing.
Right.
Or YA. It's nothing.
Right.
Did I go to YA? No. I ended up going to prison. I ended up getting trials adult. So I did not know the consequences fully. But now as an adult, people mess up because that's all they know. And I truly understand that now. Now, if you know they know different, then they're just stuck in the ways that they are and they're scared of the unknown. But it's because that's all they know.
That's all they know. Yeah, that is okay, Clyde. So you see a system that's not working, that the people that are behind walls and bars, that's all they know.
That's all they know.
They're comfortable, that's all they know. They get something, identity, they get kudos, they get recognition, they get some kind of love, as weird as that sounds, kind of like a cult. Same thing, they may come from a bad, or they may not come from a bad.
Especially if they're not nobody out here. Some, I could really tell you, they have this high rank up there from game banging or whatever they do, right? And so much respect in there, they call shots. Out here, you would see the same person in there that had all that glory, and out here they're homeless, or out here they're asking for change, and it's like that's all they know. They don't have, some really don't have family. They go back in there, they're glorified.
Yeah. So why would you choose to come out where you're stigmatized because you have a record, so you can't get a job. You're stigmatized. You can't get a girlfriend or a boyfriend because nobody wants to date you. You're stigmatized if you have a bad family. You have no one to come home to, and then you have status and a comfort inside. So yeah, the system's not working. There's no hope out here. There's certainly hope. Although, as Richard pointed out, it's not all roses in there either.
No.
Because you don't have the choice. And Richard, you said something on the way in that really struck me in my heart. It was like, if I go in there, I'm dead. If I went back in, I would not survive. So I want to go to Clyde. Okay, so you're a sergeant. You're in the sheriff's department. Normally, people would think that was a pretty good job. It was a pretty good career, and you can go and do your deal, and it's a hard life, and then you retire and you go to Disneyland. So why this? What happened?
Well, I was one of those guys that I spent time in Iraq training the Iraqi police, and I worked undercover, and I was all in, like. They should go to jail. Everybody should go to jail. They pay me. I can't believe they pay me to take people to jail. Right, kind of mentality.
Right.
And I seen a lot of death. I worked in Compton Watts and worked at FBI task force for a while, and that's the cloth that I was cut from.
Okay.
And so I was a Marine, so that was my whole world. I come from the streets, and so and I'm like, they came from where I came from. Like, that's not an excuse. That's the world that's the way I saw the world. Yeah. And, like, don't give me your excuse. I'm black too, and I come from the inner city, and I got problems. I grew up in a single family home. I saw people, because I, post Vietnam, so I saw a lot of heroin addicts. So don't give me all that stuff. I mean, that's where I was. So there was no compassion at all. Right. And so I see a young kid, and I'd seen a lot of death working in the places that I worked, but on this particular day, the day before I left Compton to go to a training unit, I saw a young kid get killed. And this kid had such an impact on my spirit that I was so frustrated. And we get this kid from Compton to Long Beach Memorial, and the paramedics, the other deputies that see this kid, we all had to just take a pause. And like he had these tears rolling down his face, like the side of his face, like, what just happened to me? And it just struck me. It just really did something to my spirit, to my soul. My son was 7 at the time, and I'm looking at this, and I find out later that the shooter shot at his 4-year-old brother, but he had the presence of mind to kick his brother out of the car. They had already killed his father, right? And so we get the kid to the hospital, and the nurses, the paramedics, and other deputies were there with me. Were all holding hands, like really pulling for this kid. And the kid died. It was the first time in my life that I'd felt helpless. Like, I felt that I did make a difference. It's like when I came in 1991, we had 18,000 people in custody. Here it is 2007, and we still have 18,000 people in custody. There's something that we're not doing, right? Because that difference isn't getting made, because it's not stopping people from killing each other. And I can't say that I had the awareness. I don't make anybody believe that I had the awareness, or I was this like conscious guy, because I wasn't. I mean, it was there. I just never tapped into it. Right. And so I said, there's got to be something. And I guess that energy was so powerful that the universe, God, whatever people want to call it, picked it up and said, okay, we're going to show you what to do. And so I just started working with organizations, and I would just go up to groups of gang members somewhere, and I'd be like, man, what do y'all talk about? What are y'all doing? I mean, don't this get old? And it's a God looks out for babies and fools. And I'm too old to be a baby, so I guess I had to be a fool, right? Okay. And they would listen, right? And then I would tell them. Eventually, I would tell them who I was, because it's like, who the hell is this dude coming up? Right. And I would tell them who I am, and they would go like, yeah, man, but that you don't know the streets, blah blah blah. You just and so I started working with other organizations, and then we created this thing called Emerging Leaders, and it started off with, let's just give them some life skills, and let's give them some job skills and send them out. And I was like, you can't. As I started looking at this thing, I said, there's a bigger need. But as I started to do this, I started to hear their story, and I began to look at the world from, I began to stand in their world and look at the world and go, wow, if that's where I grew up, maybe I would see that. So I had balance around me, so I had the ability to choose. But I knew for me as a kid, I wasn't going to college. I knew that I needed to go to the. I called my Marine recruiter and I said, "Look, man, I need to go right now." He's like, "But you're not supposed to go until 7." I said, "Bro, I need to go now, right?" And I graduated from high school on Wednesday. Thursday, I was on a plane to boot camp, because there's no way I could have stayed in the streets, and because I had a lot of anger issues, I had a lot of stuff, and I began to see like, wow, that's a lot of me, except I chose this route and they chose that route. They didn't make it to the recruiter's office in time. I did, right? And I began to see things like that, and that was the thing that had me start to have compassion and just listen to the story and say, okay, I got your story, but you're not your story.
Right? Powerful. Yes. So you're not a convict. Right. You're not a robber. You are, right? You are, and then you made conscious and unconscious choices, which then became less conscious choices. Right. It just became a way. Did we lose Charles? Okay, so now this is a great time to bring Charles on. Charles Boyd is the field director at the Urban League. And Clyde, why don't you introduce him and tell him, or actually, let's just have you tell us how you got involved, Charles.
Sure, I'll be glad to. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely.
Well, for us, back in 2009. The Los Angeles Urban League received a telephone call from Sheriff Lee Baca's office asking if we would be interested in partnering in a new effort to provide opportunities for individuals who were coming home following incarceration. The Los Angeles Urban League, I mean, at the very heart of our mission is about economic inclusion. So for us, this was something we knew we had to do immediately.
Yes.
Interestingly, we actually took over, I'd say, close to over 6 months or more, just, kind of not only planning, what we thought would be a real successful effort, but getting to know one another, getting to understand what our real passion was, what our hearts were, what we really wanted to do around transformation. And quite frankly, what we kind of came up with early on was that, we knew that for this thing to really work, for the Emerging Leaders Academy to be successful, we had to, if you would, put away our ideas that somehow as professionals, as law enforcement, as community service providers, that we were the solution. You know what I mean? And that the people who were coming home, that the individuals who had completed their incarceration were somehow the problem that had to be fixed. I think that was one of the turning points for me in my professional work, was a recognition that we're in this thing together, and together we have to figure out a solution. I think what we could have never imagined at that time, though, was that there was this incredible angel, if you would, Clyde Terry, who was there with the passion and the vision and the commitment, quite frankly, to overcome many obstacles to create what we have today, which is just nothing other than an astounding transformational program. We're just elated to be connected with it.
Did you hear that compliment? Take it in.
Thank you.
Breathe.
Yeah,
Take
it
it
in.
in.
Take it in.
Take it in.
Absorb
That's
that.
so awesome. Yeah, because
Thank you,
I know
fellas.
this guy breathes, lives, dreams, and is the soul, the heart, and the spirit of this really incredible program that celebrates the freedom of spirit and the freedom of human choice. I think is absolutely. Thank you, Charles, for joining us and talking on behalf of the Urban League. I know that there's other partners too, Goodwill, the Sheriff's Department you mentioned, Long Beach Police Department. And I hear the music that reminds me to thank the sponsor to today's show, which just happens to be the Emerging Leadership Academy. Do you want to be part of a holistic solution to our jail system? The Emerging Leaders Academy, ELA, is helping reduce the California statistic where 3 out of 4 people return to prison within their first year, leading the nation not in a good way. In partnership with the LA County Sheriff's Department, LA Urban League, Goodwill, Long Beach PD, and the Agape International Spiritual Center, ELA is a path to opportunities with responsibility and a recognition of the unique role each and every one of us has in this thing called life. If you'd like to be a partner in someone's personal growth and success, like Jaki or Richard, or career development, entrepreneurship, therapeutic literacy, financial education, and hope to those who think they have no alternative than to return to jail, then be the change you want to see and become an ELA partner. Visit emergingleaders360.org. That's emergingleaders360.org today. Thank you to ELA. Thank you for coming back. And if you've just tuned in and you're wondering what we're talking about, we are talking about freedom. Specifically, because this is the week that we celebrate freedom. Freedom from prison. Freedom from that voice that sabotages us into making choices that we do or we don't think we have, that have consequences, that become a way of life. That Emerging Leaders Academy is really working very hard to. And how many graduates have we had now?
With this class coming up, we'll be at 670, 680 graduates.
680 graduates. So, and that's in how much time?
That's since 2009.
2009. And I know you've had every reason to not go and not
let me tell you.
continue, but it just keeps continuing. What would you say? So what would you say, Jaki, is kind of the top 3 things that you learned in the academy that really turned some of your thought around that you kind of keep with you?
My favorite is the agreements part, because that opened my eyes to me following this gang, and not even just the gang, like life itself, with all these agreements and things people told me, and I chose to make them my belief, you know, and I chose to go by them. And if I'm following someone else's, why not choose mine, you know?
Right. What were those beliefs?
Just
so we see what the shift is.
In the gangbanging mentality world, I used to fight on sight. Like fight on sight. Like if I see someone that I just didn't get along with, and usually I would bump into people that have done a lot of stuff to me too, you know, so I would just get into some stuff, and
I'm going to hurt you.
I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me. And I was very closed off to people. Like when I met Clyde, I did not talk to him for probably a month and a half, which is almost the whole class. And I was not, and I thought drugs defined me, you know. I was into drugs a lot, and I didn't think it was a problem. I just thought it was normal. I was getting high every day, and I thought it was normal.
Right.
And it wasn't. And that was my favorite one. And then the forgiveness process helped me a lot. Maybe the most, because I blamed myself for my friend's death. And I hadn't cried. I didn't even cry about it when she died in my face in prison. And when he realized something, and this is how much attention he pays when he does his exercises, right? It's a long story, but long story short, I was supposed to write a negative word on the board, and the negative word that was shot my way was suicidal, and how crazy that my friend committed suicide in prison, right? So I didn't want to write it. I had someone else write it. He stopped me and was like, wait, there's something within yourself why you don't want to write it, so can you write it?
Right.
And then I wrote it just so he could be quiet. And
shut him up.
But writing it made me realize, like, I hadn't cried about my friend. I hadn't realized that I blamed myself, and I cried right on sight. I hadn't cried in years, and I cried right on the spot, like it just happened.
So your heart broke open.
He opened me up. And then the third one was when we make our own agreement, in which would be three words that basically we embody, you know. My first 3 words were what I was not, which would be open, kind, and accepting. I was not open to nobody. I was not kind to people because I didn't want to meet you. Like, who were you to meet me? Like, who were you for me to meet you, you know? And I wasn't kind. And accepting, I didn't accept nobody. Nothing. Unless it had anything to do with me, you know? And now I'm nothing but open, kind, and accepting. It comes my way, and that's what I am, you know?
Right.
And those were my 3 favorite things, because it changed my whole life, and it made me it helped me deal with everything I was holding inside that I didn't realize. And I'm a poet, so I was writing has always been my life, but I didn't really know that it was okay to like express it, because it was just my thing.
Right.
And it was just not okay to express it, right?
Right.
Well, in that class made me so much more comfortable, and now I'm writing my book, and it's like,
great.
It's a healing process.
Do you have a title for it?
Do I have a title for it? Not yet.
Not yet.
No,
Okay.
I don't.
Well, we can work with that one.
Yeah.
I'd love to help you with that.
I would love that.
Great. That's great. Richard,
Yes.
what top 3 things did you get out of Emerging Leaders Academy?
To be impeccable with my word.
Yeah.
In other words, to stop, and also to no 2 things can be in the same space at the same time. So if I was to transform my life, and I had to stop doing what I was doing, stop my belief system, stop a lot of things, stay still, and that's really hard. That's really hard for a person on drugs and somebody that's just a nomad. And so I had to stop. I had to get some professionals in my life. I'm at a drug treatment facility, and so one day an intern there, and one day they told me, we're going to send you to Emerging Leaders. And so actually what I did was I surrounded myself with 7 other white convicts. You know what I mean? I have to be in my comfort zone. And so we loaded up in a van, and we went over to the Goodwill, and that's the first day that I met Clyde Terry. And
And then this crazy Asian woman comes and makes you learn Tai Chi.
Yeah.
He was really into it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the openness that you talked about. This is
And
what
willingness.
I've really noticed with all of my students at ELA. I mean, I've never seen a group of more willing and open and accepting and hungry, because there's hope. I mean, I see hope. And it's interesting, all the things that you've brought up as what you've learned is not about, I learned a skill to make money. Interesting, right? All you have learned, all that you are highlighting is what you've learned about you and who you are and your soul, and to shed the BS, the belief systems that tell you otherwise. Yes.
It's like,
I feel like
it's because I tell this to everybody, right? Because sometimes I'll be on the spot and they're like, what is emergent leaders? You know?
Yeah.
And then my thing that I always say, it's like, if you were like me, right? I grew up in East LA, and you grew up in that gambling world, and it's giving you nothing but negative things, like even that pain and all that stuff you have inside of you, because when you deal with that stuff inside and you accept yourself, it's like the worst and best pain you ever feel in your life. So it's like I tell them, why not try something new that will just open your mind and try it? Because you try everything else. You try shooting a gun. You've tried everything for the first time. Why not try this? And it opens your mind to something new, right? And if it works out for you, go by it. If not, by all means, you're comfortable there. You want to stay there, stay there. But why not try this? And I guarantee you that if you really are open to it, it will change your life, because it changed mine, you know?
Right. So what would you say as an advertisement to stay away? Because I have to tell you, one of my students from ELA, you know, after I taught them the forms, you know, polishing the table and the acknowledgement and, you know, the acceptance and the wheel of life and seeing yourself as unique, the butterfly, beautiful, good enough, worthy, wrapped in a warm blanket of worthiness. And as he was doing it, you know, you could tell he was struggling. And afterwards I said to him, you know, what is your mind saying? What is that voice saying? And he said, I don't know how to live outside of prison. It's too hard to live outside of prison. I only know, and it's much easier to live inside of prison. So for all the ones who and I'm barraged with this all the time. The people, you know, I call them, it's the easy fix systemic thinking of, you know, why doesn't welfare work? Well, people just need to get off their lazy blah, blah, blah. Why doesn't prison work? Well, we just need to, either have capital punishment so they're wiped off the face of the earth, or we should just, starve them, or these one shot. This is the one way that we're going to fix something that doesn't work. That's that's called non-systemic linear Newtonian thinking, and it doesn't work. And so I would appeal to anyone who's watching this to, and I know I'm preaching to the choir because all Dr. Marissa listeners are systemic thinkers, and we don't try to find that one solution, but it is more complicated. You can't just teach someone life skills or give them a job even. We have to fix the belief system that keeps them in the system.
Well, here's the thing. Everybody has it, whether you're in a corporate America, whether you're a cop, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a lawyer, it doesn't make a difference. We all have it. So, whether you're in the military, some people go in the military and go, I don't think I can do anything else other than this, so I'm going to stay with this and retire.
Right.
There's people in law enforcement that do the same thing. There's, it did make a difference what it is, because we've all been conditioned to go to school, get a job with benefits, retire from it, and be happy, right? We're all conditioned, right? So we all have it. So when we teach them, we don't teach them from you're a person with a criminal history. We teach them what it is to be a human being, right? It doesn't make a difference. The same curriculum we use there, we use with people in corporate America, because I do some coaching outside of my job, and I use the same curriculum with people who are millionaires. So it doesn't. We're all dealing with the same problems. It's just wherever I get caught is where I operate from. So if I vibrate from a lower level, then if I'm dealing with gutter people, I have the same mentality of not being good enough. I'm just not good enough in the gutter. If I'm in corporate America and I'm not good enough, I'm just not good enough in corporate America. The only difference is I have more money and more resources to deal with not being good enough. Right. So it doesn't really, it doesn't. So what we do is we get them to remember who they are. They get them to remember that they're built, they came installed with all the things that they need, all the qualities that they're searching for in drugs, all the qualities that they're searching for.
The peace, the joy, the kindness, the creativity, the prosperity, the abundance,
so
the love. It is all already in there.
Yes.
And for some reason, most of us forget that, or we never are awake to it.
And it doesn't make a difference whether you're in corporate America or whether you're in someone coming out of prison or in prison. We all are dealing with that. So some people think more money will make me somebody. Some people will think, well, if I get higher, I'll be happier. But some people are like, if I get more sex, I'll be happier. I mean, you fill in the blank, you plug it in, but wherever you are in the world of vibration, that's how you're going to operate. Right. And so like with the, I love the teachings of Reverend Michael, because he really, they come to Agape, and they get the same teachings. And it's not like we got together and put this curriculum together. It was just all in alignment with what it is to be a human being. Right. And how do I get the best, how do I become the best me I can be? Right. And here's the thing is, when they begin to remember, when they get reconnected to the child who had dreams, then all of a sudden, I don't see, hurt people. So if they get when they got hurt, they can let go of when they got hurt. Yes. And from that space create something new. Yeah. And so people go, well, how does this work? It works because you get them to remember who they were before they lost themselves. And then they get back in that world, and they start to see things. And Jaki graduated in July of last year. Jaki's been on stage with Marianne Williamson.
Orange is the New Black.
She did Orange is the New Black. On stage with Michael Beckwith, not Hillary Swank. She could have never seen that, and now she's working on a book, and she's going back into the system and teaching people poetry. I mean, all these things are happening. Richard is now. He's transformed so many lives. He's
just from his story.
Right. He's brought all these people into emerging leaders because of what he got. And these people are like, if it wasn't for you, Richard, I wouldn't be here. And now he's now working at a recovery center, at a recovery home, where he's working with people and coaching people and getting people to see, because he can speak that language. Right. She can speak that language. Right. So they're going back into the gutters and pulling people out of the gutters. And that's the purpose of emerging leaders.
It's this idea that I woke up with about a year ago. What if all the people that are in prison, what if all the people who, like Elizabeth Smart, who have gone through tragedy, what if the child soldiers of Coney who have had horrific experience, what if all the people on the planet that we think we need to rehabilitate? And Charles, if you're still there, I love what you said. Originally, we came in thinking we're the ones that are going to save. We're the ones that are going to teach. We're the one that's going to tell you how to make your life work. And it's not that at all. What if, by the divine plan, which is way bigger than what we can comprehend, what if all of this experience that you've had, the purpose is for you to be able to help in a way that no one else can help? Because I can't go in there and say, I know what it's like to be comfortable. I know what it's like that it's hard outside. I know what it's like to want to lash out and hurt someone and kill them because they looked at me funny, because that's all I knew. I know that. And at the same time, there's so much more of you that you can connect to by making those conscious decisions and choices and spring from that hope. You can do that. You can do that. Richard and Jaki can do that in a way that Charles and Clyde and Dr. Marissa and Sharon and Tony, we can't do that. So isn't it fabulous that there's always a reason for everything that happens? So for all of the judgers and for all of the ones that are sitting there condemning and just rolling their eyeballs and saying the whole society is going to hell in a handbasket, the prison system doesn't work, just blow them up, is it possible that there is a reason and hope that springs eternal and a cog in this whole planetary design that says, wouldn't this be great if people who actually knew this were the leaders of the change that we want to see? And that's what I see in this program. That's what I see in Emerging Leaders Academy. And unfortunately, as usual, we have run out of time. But thank you so much to my guests, Emerging Clyde, Terry, Charles Boyd, Jaki and Richard, Sharon Pierre Lewis for interpreting all of my deaf listeners that are out there. Thank you so much, all of everyone who supports this show. Take my advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. I did get a notification. Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, who really, really wanted to be here, just flew in from India. So it's not because he didn't want to. Usually he gets asked to do a lot of things. And when I first asked him, he didn't even hesitate. He said, I'll be here. So I know he's here in spirit. I know we're all here representing the way, the agape way, the unconditional love way in the studio, all of that in here. So I'm going to close with a couple of balance bar, step up to my balance bar announcements. First of all, thank you. This is, one of the things about being called the Asian Oprah is I have to give stuff away on the show. So today's giveaway is actually a book that just came out. It's called Women Change the World, and yours truly is one of the chapters. So please do contact me for balance.org. Put in the subject line of the guest that you would like to win the book, and I will personalize that for you. It's got some great stuff. I actually do some women bashing instead of male bashing in my chapter. And I'll be the luncheon keynote speaker at the AWE Concordia University Small Business Conference on July the 11th. Other speakers include Wing Lam of Wahoo's Taco and Irvine Mayor Stephen Choi. I hope you'll be able to join me at the conference. For information and registration, please visit www.aweusa.org, aweusa.org. And drum roll, today is day 1 of the 21-day fast from complaining with Dr. Marissa. We are in year 4. Believe it or not, we've done this consecutively. This is round 37. So if you are tired of listening to yourself complain, or anybody around you, please go to my website for the rules. Today is Complaint Awareness Day. There's no consequence for complaining, so get it out of your system and try to go 21 consecutive days without complaining, because people around you will thank you for sure. And that's it for today's show. Tune in this Thursday night at 7 p.m. PST on my NBC News Radio KCAA AM 1050 broadcast for more hope and more happiness 88% of the time on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa Pay. That's P for positive, EI. Remember, it's all about balance. Peace in and peace out.
Learned to cry at an early age. People around me, my heart in a cage. Life was a book, don't turn a page. I couldn't see past my rage. I wanted to dance, but I pushed you away. Now I'm on my knees, I'll listen to what you say. And you said, be my partner, dance with me. Just hold on, I will lead. Don't be afraid if you can't see. I promise you joy in the mystery. I wanted to believe in magic, so I put on a masquerade. I pulled off an amazing hat trick, but the illusion didn't last a day. I wanted to dance, but I pushed you away. Now I'm on my knees, I listen to what you say. And you said, be my partner, dance with me. Just hold on, I will lead. Don't be afraid if you can't see. I promise you joy in the mystery. One day I climbed off my own stage and scanned the audience of my life, looking for someone to restore the music to a life I couldn't dance to anymore. And you said, be my partner, dance with me. Just hold on and I will lead. Don't be afraid if you can't see. I promise you joy in the mystery.